Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I have a very, very special guest in my house. It's been a long time in coming. A really close friend of mine, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Matt Skiba. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Toby.
So for the listeners who might not be familiar with Matt Skiba, we're going to learn his history pretty quick here. But we met, I want to say we met in New York City at Continental Divide.
Continental. I don't know if it was called Continental Divide, just the Continental Club, right?
Yeah, I forgot. I don't know what year it was.
It was, I think Murphy's Law was playing, maybe.
Makes sense.
And we had a show the night before in the city, and had a night off, and we met actually outside of the Continental.
Okay.
And you were wearing a laminate with Max's picture on it. He had just been born, I think.
Wow, so
and I met your wife. I actually met your wife before I met you.
Okay.
When she was pregnant with Max.
Yeah.
I was smoking a cigarette back when I smoked cigarettes.
That's a good story.
And we were at I think Peaches. We were at a show in LA. We were at the Wiltern.
Okay.
And there's this like side smoking area thing where everybody would smoke cigarettes. I'm out there smoking, and Moon was sitting outside with, she's like 6 or 7 months pregnant.
Yes. And
I'm smoking a cig, and she's talking to my wife at the time, and I didn't notice she was sitting there and that she was pregnant, and my cigarette smoke was going into her face, and she's like, "Hey, bro, can I get one of those?" And I go to hand her a cigarette, notice that she's pregnant, and I'm being a total asshole.
That's Moon.
But I just thought of this. What was she doing in the smoking section? But she was hanging out with my wife, and I wouldn't have lit up a cigarette had I seen any pregnant woman, regardless of who she is. So that's how we met. I remember her from Chicago, but we ran with different crowds in the punk scene.
Yeah.
I met Moon right before I met you.
Yeah, so I think that had to be maybe like around 2003 or 4, because that's when Max was just born. So that's a long time ago. Very long time ago. So yeah, for the listeners, obviously, if people don't know, Skiba was born in Chicago. And we were just talking a few minutes ago when we started, but I wanted to restart because I thought there was some issues with the podcast. But real quick, what part?
You don't need to tell them everything.
Well, I can edit that out. So what part of Chicago were you born in?
I was born in what area of the city?
Yeah, it was outskirts. Was it?
No, I was born at Cook County Hospital in Chicago.
Yeah.
I grew up. I moved out to the suburbs when I was 2. My parents stayed in the city, and then I lived alone in a house I bought when I was 2. Just kidding. My parents moved us out to the suburbs. My mom worked at Cook County Hospital for a long time. I was born there, and then grew up in the township of McHenry, which is in McHenry County. It's northwest of the city, about an hour from Chicago, where I spent most of my youth going to punk shows.
Yeah. So how was it before you got exposed to punk and stuff? How was it growing up? Like how were you in school? How were you as a kid?
I was I don't know. It's weird. Like I was really good. Like as far as grades were concerned, I was a straight A student in the things I was interested in.
Totally.
Art, English. I loved to read. I loved to paint and sculpt and all the things we were doing back then. But math and biology, all the sciences and stuff at the time, I had no interest in. So I would get by with a C. I would do the least amount of work that I wouldn't get grounded over. D's were a no-go. Yeah. That was a non-starter for my folks. So I was a C student, but A's in, like I said, art and English.
Were your parents, was it a strict family?
It was strict. Like my parents, we had, and thinking back on it, it's really cool. Like my mom forced me and my sisters to play piano for 3 years, which if she hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. Yeah. My mother introduced me to music, and I did the mandatory 3 years of piano. And then she said, after that, if you don't love it, you can quit, you can keep doing it, you can switch instruments. And so after 3 years, I kept getting lessons for another 2 years, I think. Yeah. But at that time, I started playing drums, and I played alto sax in the school band, and I started teaching myself bass and guitar to. I remember the first song I learned on guitar was the theme song for Maximum Overdrive by AC/DC. I think it's called Trucks. It's like a instrumental song. And then what was the other one? Richard Hung Himself by D.I.
Sick. That's awesome. So
but I would just play like the vocal melodies on a guitar.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How old were you then when you started playing guitar?
When I started, I was probably 8 or 9.
It's freaking awesome. It's early, man. That's
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, the first punk show I went to, I was 11.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. So what was your? So obviously you went to your first punk show while you're in freaking school, almost middle school actually, if you're 11.
Yeah. So going back to just quickly, like my parents, my mom made us play piano.
Yep.
But also at 5 o'clock every day, 7 days a week, at 5 o'clock we had to be home for dinner, family dinner. My parents, my sisters, all 5 of us, and that was never really a hassle. I mean, I have a a really close family, and things like that I think help promote a healthy family. But my folks were strict only when they realized how kind of wild I was.
Okay.
Just in my nature, I was just kind of an angry kid, violent, just not violent. Like I never bullied anybody, but definitely getting in a lot of fights. And just acting out in class and acting out at home. Yeah. But I was always a very, compassionate person. My parents are very open-minded, very, if I had to put a word on it, leftist or liberal.
Yeah.
So I was raised by beautiful parents that, they kept the reins pretty tight on us. We couldn't go out on school nights. So anytime there was a show on a school night, I would lie and go to show, get on the train and go to a show.
Wow.
So yeah, my parents were strict, but not, they weren't, cruel, or it made sense. I mean, it was, for at the time, and given, my behavior, I understand.
Yeah. We always like that. Was there something that made you become that way? Like, getting more wilder when you got in high school or something, or is it you've always been like a wild kid?
I was just always hyperactive.
Yeah, me too.
I think a lot of kids, especially in earlier punk rock, it's like the 80s punk rock scene was very different than it is now.
For sure.
Just different. I won't say better or worse. I'm just thankful. For me, it's better because it's my life, and I got to see a time when, punk rock was still dangerous.
Yeah.
I think when I discovered punk rock is when I think a lot of us hyperactive kids fell in love with that because it was a way to channel that emotion and that energy, going dancing at punk shows and getting in the pit, and just the music itself was a release. So, but yeah, I think I was always a wild kid. And then as I got older, there were just, names to put on it, like punk rock or drugs or, whatever.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first show was?
Yeah. My the first show I went to show ever, was the Judds with my parents when I was like 6 or something.
Nice. The Judds.
I remember it was the first time I smelled weed. And vaguely remember that. It was not, nothing to speak of, but the first like punk rock show I went to was Public Image Limited. I was like 10, I think.
That's crazy.
The first like Public Image was a punk rock show, but I went with my older cousins.
Okay.
So I was supervised. The first time I went with friends, and I feel like it was like my real, like kind of the, rite of passage first show was Social Distortion. That was first kiss, first fist fight, first time I ever got drunk, all in one night.
Damn, that's amazing.
And I realized what I wanted to do with my life when Mike walked out on the stage. It was like every girl in that place wanted to fuck that dude. Every dude in that
True.
place wanted to be him or fuck him. You know, it's like he was the shit. And you know, and still is. I love Mike. We've become, you know, friendly acquaintances. I don't know him that well, but he's definitely a hero of mine. And so yeah, that was a big night in my life.
Turning point for everything.
Yeah.
What grade were you in there? You think were you in high school then?
I wasn't.
I was low. I was still 11 years old.
I was actually, you know what? I was in high school, but I was like, I think I was a freshman.
Yeah.
12 or 13. Yeah. So I was like 11.
Yeah.
For public image, and then like a freshman when I went to Social D.
So still being a wild kid, and still getting great grades, still like being home at 5 o'clock.
A couple great grades. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you end up graduating though, right?
Yeah.
And then did you have? Obviously, it was music since you saw Mike Ness and Social Distortion. We know that, but like, did you have goals besides music when you were in school? Or like, was there a vision of what you want to do when you get out of school?
I played a lot of soccer.
Okay.
When I was a freshman, I was the captain of the varsity soccer team.
I have it written down right here. Yeah, that's awesome.
So I was a forward, and when we were getting pummeled, I would get in the goal box. I was a goalie and a center forward, which I don't know how common that is, but it certainly wasn't with our team or our division or whatever. But yeah, I got scholarships to CU Boulder, University of Utah, Iowa, whatever's in Iowa City, University of Iowa. Some pretty like Big Ten schools for sports wanted me to play soccer, so that was kind of an option. And then, you know, I'd been skating. Skateboarding is how I found out about punk rock.
Yeah.
Thrasher magazine. But you know, I'd started playing music. Soccer was something that I loved, and still love. And I was snowboarding and competing, semi-pro. So I definitely knew that I wanted to, you know, I knew that I was going to be a professional soccer player. I was good, but you know, it's just, that wasn't something I was interested in.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I was also, you know, like I said, I loved, art. So I was going to maybe go to school for graphic design, which I ultimately ended up doing for a year.
All right, so now you're playing music. Are you writing music in high school too? Are you writing like poetry? Because a lot of your songs, a lot of your lyrics are very poetic. And when did you start writing, like just writing stuff?
I was playing drums in the bands, like in my high school bands. I would write all the music. Yeah, I would write the lyrics, and the music. But I played drums. Yeah,
and Blunt and Jerkwater.
Exactly. Yeah, and the Traders. I didn't write the songs for the Traders, but yeah, when I was in high school, like we would play Battle of the Bands, and I would, you know, we'd play like an original song and cover Ned's Atomic Dustbin or Sludgeworth or well, I think it was those two. Yeah, I think we played those and the Cars, Just What I Needed.
Yeah.
Neil Diamond, Beautiful Noise. We did a punk rock cover of that.
That's awesome.
We swept Battle of the Bands every year. But yeah, I was writing. I don't remember doing any like creative writing on my own.
Yeah.
But songwriting for sure. I mean, I guess that's creative writing, but songwriting. As far as just pen to paper writing, I didn't start doing that until years later.
Okay. But you could play so many instruments too, like drums, bass, guitar, everything. It's pretty amazing to have all that. You know what I mean? Started young with music.
Yeah, I mean, and again, thanks to my mom, I can get by. I mean, I can play everything enough to convey an idea to somebody that plays much better than I.
Yeah.
It's like I am not the greatest guitar player, but I can play a lot of other things too. I'm not the greatest anything player, but I know at least how to do it. You know, to get by.
Yeah. I know another impact on your life was Another State of Mind.
Huge.
Such an amazing movie doc. Yeah.
When did you first see that?
I saw like on Nightline or something. There was a TV show. Night Flight. Yeah.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah. I saw it on there and I was like, holy shit. You see like the way they toured and everything, staying at the Discord house and in the bus and just Social Distortion was so cool with his makeup and.
Well, the beautiful thing, and I think you'll agree, like with punk rock, that film really, and I had like an idea that, you know, Misfits and Ramones, the music was so simple, really.
Yeah.
I had this feeling like you still needed to write great songs, and obviously they're all great they were tight bands and great players, but it felt like something that not anyone could do, but that I could do. Yeah. And when I saw Another State of Mind, I think that was huge for a lot of us. You know, it showed me, I can only speak for myself, but that film also a huge turning point where I started to consider playing music for, you know, I don't know, back then punk bands weren't making any money. No. You know, I certainly didn't get into it to make money, and I just loved it. And, you know, Youth Brigade and Social D taught us all that you can do it yourself. Totally. And thanks to Maximum Rock and Roll, Book Your Own Fucking Life, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, there was things available to us that allowed us to tour.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Another State of Mind was like the, you know, it's definitely like a huge impact on everything, you know.
Yeah. If you watch that thing today, watch the DVD, whatever today, and it just brings back those memories and just when you were young and just seeing that for the first time and just, I don't know, it's amazing to see how far Social D has come, and I don't know, just how punk rock and everything's changed. But back then just was so DIY, just like.
Yeah, them spray painting their own T-shirts.
So cool.
Yeah, it was like, you know, we started doing that. We started, you know, we didn't get an old school bus that broke down 18 times or whatever. You know, we had a van, and but it's, you know, it was like I said, just showed us we could do it.
Yeah,
put your mind to it, and it's not easy. It's like, but like Sean and you know, all those guys, just to have at such a young age to have that drive, that to make it happen. Like no one else is going to do it for you. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Do it yourself. So. Teachable, I guess, was what I was looking for earlier, like a teachable moment seeing that film.
And then those guys took it to BYO Records, and now Punk Rock Bowling is still living that way in their own way. It's amazing, man.
Yeah,
how far they come. All right, so after high school, you go to the Columbia Art Institute. Is that what it's called?
Art Institute is a separate school. There's the Art Institute of Chicago, and then Columbia College is where I went.
Okay.
Which is funny. I tell people I went to Columbia. And I just let them think that it's the Ivy League Columbia.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, wow. You went to Columbia?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? No. Yeah. Art school, Columbia College. And it was kind of, I had a great time. One of the big things that changed for me was when I was a freshman at Columbia, there were no computers in the classroom. And I was doing graphic design was my major. I figured I would eventually design album art for a record company. And then things went digital, and they were bringing in computers. And I, you know, even at that point, I was like, I don't want to sit in front of a computer screen all day. Like I didn't own a computer at the time, but I knew that staring at that screen gave me a headache. Watching TV for too long gave me a headache.
Totally.
And I just physically couldn't do it, and mentally didn't have the capacity or desire to do it. So when everything went digital, I was like, you know, no time like the present. Got a job bike messengering so that I could leave anytime I wanted and come back and always have a job, and be able to start touring.
That must have been brutal, bike messenger in Chicago.
It was. I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
So back then for me, it was more of an adventure. It definitely sucked at times, but I loved it. I mean, there were days where it would be 40 below zero, and, you know, most places weren't open, but there was like the stock exchange had to stay open, and like law offices had to stay open, or courtrooms, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so a few of us that had the gear and the, you know, the willingness to work in 30 below weather, I was one of those people. They'd give us $100 at the end of the day.
That's a lot,
because you're risking your 30 seconds out in that, and you get frostbite.
Yeah.
So and it's just really uncomfortable. It's so cold, so cold it burns.
I can imagine.
But yeah, when I was a kid, when I was young, it was like, I loved it, and it also made me work really hard at the band, knowing that I did not want to be a bike messenger forever.
Yeah. So a trio started at that point?
Yes.
So what year would that have been? That would be
96.
96, yeah. 96.
95, 96. Yeah, we started the band and we were, I guess, it took us like about a year, I guess, before we had something recorded.
Yeah.
And managed to get a van and, actually start driving out of state to play shows.
Yeah.
I remember the first show we played outside of Chicago was in Dayton, Ohio.
I remember Dayton, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good shows out there back in the day.
Dayton, Ohio. Yeah, that's where Brainiac was from. But yeah, there was a cool little scene there. We played in a house. Our friend Jeremy, I think, I lost track of him, but fell out of touch. But he brought us out to Dayton. We were just playing just kind of around the Chicago area, and slowly but surely, making our way towards, touring, the states and beyond.
And who started that band? And did the guys come from any other bands you were in before that? Or was it just a whole new, group of people? They weren't from those other bands, right?
It was friends. I mean, my buddy Rob, I grew up with, played bass, and my friend Glenn, we were all friends before we Glenn played in a band called Tommy Rot, which was one of my favorite bands. Smoking Popes was kind of like the kings of that scene.
Yeah.
They were from the next town over out. They were from Crystal Lake, which is in McHenry County. And then from the Smoking Popes, it was like somebody's brother was in this band. Tommy Rot was a part of that circle of friends. And the Elgin scene. There was a archery range.
Okay.
In Elgin, Illinois, where they would do punk shows, and I met Dan Andriano from Slapstick, and later Tuesday, and when Rob, our first bass player, he chose to stay in school and had some other things. He just didn't want to tour.
Yeah.
Not back then, and we had to go. So it was like we parted ways with a handshake or a hug or whatever, on good terms. And then Glenn, when he was in the band, it was amazing. We did everything ourselves, just like it was. We were printing our own shirts in Glenn and Heather's kitchen.
That's awesome.
So everybody was, the first when Trio really started touring, Danny had already joined the band, and it was all people from the scene and people I grew up with.
Yeah, who named the band?
I did.
Awesome.
Every band I've ever been in, I used a dictionary.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, to name the band, and I wanted something that didn't sound like anyone else. I mean, there was the Dennison Kimball Trio, there was the Hate Fuck Trio, there was a few trios, but in our kind of subgenre or whatever, there were no punk bands, the Something Trio. So there was Dillinger 4. I don't even know if they were a band yet, but Alkaline Trio. I was just flipping through the dictionary, and I wanted the band to start with an A, so that we would be at the top of every.
I like that.
Alphabetically, we would be in the front or at the top of any list. So, and I got to the word alkaline. Jerkwater, my old little high school band dictionary.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
what did your parents think about you, quitting college and then becoming the bike messenger and then starting the music? Were they worried about you? Or, I mean, you're an adult at that point, but still.
No, I mean, I'm still not an adult.
Neither am I. But I know what I mean.
No, but it was. I was still a kid, but I was out of my parents' house. I was living. I know what you mean. What was the question again?
It's what they thought about not going to college for art.
Oh yeah. My dad. They were both really concerned. You know, and then I started I started tattooing my hands. It was like what bike messengering did for me. It was like we called them, and maybe still call them, job stoppers.
Yeah, back then, sure, yeah.
Nobody had tattoos on their neck or their hands or whatever. And so it was, just that doing something that I didn't love was not an option. Yeah. So, they were always pretty concerned about me, and for good reason. But, I feel like at least I thought I always had it,
Mm-hmm.
and managed to get by with whatever it was. But the bike messengering concerned my mom. Me quitting school, just my dad came from poverty and worked really hard to give us everything that he never had.
Yeah.
So college was really important to him. And when I dropped out, he definitely felt, I think, betrayed a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a little awkward between us for a couple years, but he didn't stop talking to me or, it was a little hard for that. I was definitely always, probably a pain in the ass for them.
Yeah. But we turned out wonderful though.
Thank you.
So when your band started playing shows, I'm sure they came to your shows and saw they actually doing some stuff, right?
Once we started playing Metro, they started coming to shows.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time in my life where they wanted to come see my apartment in Chicago, and I lived in Humboldt Park. There were literally bullet holes in my front door of my building.
Damn.
Like we lived in gangland. I mean, any of those that series, I forget.
On Vice.
It's not Vice.
Oh.
It's Discovery Channel, I think, or
okay.
Whatever the Gangland series is, like 9 out of 10 of those episodes are Humboldt Park and South Side. Chicago is just
it's no joke.
Huge gang town. So yeah, I lived right in the war zone between Latin Kings and Gangster Disciples, and they were literally shooting across. I lived right on Division Street, and Division Street in Chicago is called Division because it used to divide the Irish and the Italian mob.
Wow.
And later went on to divide, different sets. Mm-hmm. Even down in Cabrini Green, Division cuts right down the middle of, cuts down towards the lake where it's like you're not quite downtown, but just north of downtown. And Cabrini was right before all the, big buildings and everything. And Division Street, even back before they tore it down, divided gangs.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like there were gangs everywhere, but Division was where it was hot. The block was hot.
Block was hot.
I saw a lot of shootings. It was very close to them more times than, I'm just lucky that I lived through it. One of my friends got shot. Another friend of mine got jumped. I mean, people were getting jumped all the time.
Yeah.
But I got checked when I first moved into that neighborhood, and we were the only white kids. So
early 90s, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like after I dropped out of school, because I was living at a dorm at Columbia downtown, and so when I dropped out, it was like I needed to get a place with cheap rent. It was $160 a month to live where I live, to live where I did. And so my parents were like, "Oh, we want to come down and see you." I was like, I'd make up excuses because, on one hand, it's like I didn't want them to worry, but also I didn't want it to seem like, when I dropped out of school, my parents were helping me. They were giving me money to live because I was a full-time student.
Totally.
So when I dropped out, they're like, "Well, we can't help you just not be in school," and I had already, I was already hired at a messenger company when I told them.
Yeah.
So that when I did tell them, I already had everything in order. I was already working.
Smart. Yeah.
I just didn't, and I didn't want to seem like, see, now that you cut me off, look where I live. But, I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for all of my experiences and all my mistakes and fuck ups. It's like, you just learn to not do that again.
Yeah.
And living in, Humboldt, that was definitely, eye-opening. But yeah, seeing people get killed and stuff is a trip.
Because I know Chicago's still one of the illest cities here in 2019.
It's the murder capital of the world.
Yeah,
almost.
So it's like, imagine back then and now. It's crazy, man. That's
well, and now, like, the neighborhood I lived in, and as... it's like it's around, it's kind of, most of Chicago is pretty safe. There's just an area like out on the west side and the south side, there's pockets you just don't want to be in.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's just really dangerous. I was going to say, I had a point and I lost it.
We'll get back to it. And some about your mom. Was your mom a nurse in the war?
She was. My dad was a dentist. My mom was a nurse. My mom,
cool.
for a very long, and may still be the most decorated war nurse in U.S. history.
Your mom.
My mom.
That's
There was
awesome.
a TV show. Some of the older listeners might remember China Beach.
I know that.
Dana Delaney played my mother, and that her story was based on my mom. My mom was in the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, in North Vietnam, behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
And she was on the front lines.
It's crazy, man.
Getting bombed, getting shot at. She had a gun. She it's like she was she's seen real she's seen and been involved in real conflict. I mean, she was in a war zone for, years of her life. I have a picture that I post all the time, and I have the original in my kitchen of my mom in her fatigues holding her M16.
Seen that.
And smoking a cigarette, which is, my mom's a health nut now and looks 30 years younger than she is. My dad too. They're both lovely people and really healthy, but my mom was 22, just holding people, other kids dying in her arms. 18-year-old kids. And
it's
so
heavy, man.
it was something that we couldn't watch war movies. My dad and I loved Das Boot and Apocalypse Now, and we loved all these World War II and Vietnam War movies.
Yeah.
And we couldn't watch them around my mom. And 4th of July, my dad would take us to fireworks. My mom couldn't be around explosions.
Wow.
So she had PTSD. I don't know to what extent.
Yeah.
But before they called it that, it was like just a condition or whatever name they had for it.
Yeah.
Shell shock. But yeah, she's still, I'm definitely careful with things I recommend to her, or even things I post on Instagram. It's like I try my hardest to never bring up war.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very proud of her.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
She was a triage nurse, in the shit, as they say. And my dad was a dentist at base camp, but he was also infantry.
Okay.
And spent some time in a helicopter. So yeah, they both and they they, like a lot of veterans from that era will tell you that was a it was a huge mistake, and it is what it is. But a lot of them were like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah.
And all the controversy with the government sending young kids into war, a war that they knew they were losing and really had no point.
Yeah.
The president and all of his men and whatever few women were there knew that it was just suicide.
Yeah.
Without any logic. So my parents are, like I said, they're really liberal people, loving and open-minded people, and they're both Army veterans, or Vietnam veterans rather. But they were in the Army.
Your parents are awesome, man.
Yeah, they're the best.
How I know about China Beach, you said that it's strange because I had Rappaport on here last week, and that was the first show every TV show he ever got his first audition, and that was the first show he ever was on his whole career.
Really?
Yeah, that was his first show.
Yeah.
It was his first break, man, was that show.
Wild,
and that was a big show back then.
It was huge. It was, Emmy award-winning show.
Yeah.
It was one of the most popular dramas on TV, MASH and China Beach.
That's right, MASH. I know you have twin sisters that are younger. Shout out to your sisters. They're awesome. They went into punk and nothing you were into. You're totally opposites.
I mean,
you're like the black sheep for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking to my mom about this the other night. And I said something about being the black sheep, and she was like, you weren't the black sheep. And I was like, well, define a black sheep for me. And she said, well, it's somebody that, kind of goes their own way, and and I'm like, so she's like, yeah, I guess you were the black sheep. She just didn't want me to feel like, whatever. It's just, it wasn't a negative thing. It was just, I just didn't, my parents went my sisters went more of a traditional route. Yeah. And I didn't. Yeah. So, but we're, my sisters are amazing, and we're all close. They graduated from school, and, they're both doing really well.
Yeah. Were you a party kid too when you were young?
Oh yeah.
And did that start early for you?
Yes.
Just from the people you're hanging out with, probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We like my buddy Dave Weber. I remember we would go down to when I went to that Social Distortion show.
Yeah.
Taking the train or one of my friends' cars down to the city to see punk shows was just like a weekly thing after that.
Yeah.
Or at least a couple times a month there was a great show. But yeah, all my friends were, I always hung out with the Town Criminal, and I was always, keeping my parents up at night.
Yeah.
Like my friend DJ Montet was like, and he's playing music, I guess, and doing well for himself, but everyone knew him in town. The cops knew him. Like, they let him graduate without coming to school because he beat up a teacher.
Damn.
Yeah, he was a wild kid, but not a bad kid. Just just a criminal.
Yeah.
At least to the grown-ups. But he was my buddy, and yeah, we did a lot of acid and drank a lot of beer and malt liquor. And I remember drinking Mickey's Big Mouths on the train, going to punk shows, and I was 13.
Wow. You were out there, man.
Yeah.
But still, what's amazing about you is still like you weren't flunking. You weren't like fucking, you know what I mean? You're still making home for, like you're still being responsible too, you know what I mean? And focused,
Well, yeah, I think somehow, yeah. I mean, we organized our own. It was like I was always at soccer. I did the things that I knew I had to do to get. I just had deja vu to get to the punk show. That was like my whole, everything was, how do I get to either the show we were playing or a show I was going to, and I was going to more shows than I was playing them at that time. So everything was kind of a means to an end.
Yeah.
To do that well, so I could do this, and yeah. But I think with anyone, it's like you're judged by the company you keep, because the company you keep is generally doing the same thing you are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the town I grew up in, I remember there was like a survey or polls taken, and we were in all of North America, the ratio of drug users to non-drug users, we had like the highest percentage of drug using students.
Wow.
I don't know how they got that number, or how true that is, but that's what they told us, and it makes sense. I mean, high school for me, I got bullied a little in junior high and kind of had to learn how to stick up for myself. But in high school, I was like kind of the first punk rock kid in my little town, and I wore wearing Chucks to school before anyone wore Chucks, and getting punched in the stomach for that, and just like, or whatever, shoved and pushed around, which, then I hit a growth spurt and that ended. But high school, everybody was on drugs, so everybody got along. Yeah. Like the jocks and the punks and the metalheads and the preppy kids, we all partied together. Yeah. And if there was a fight, it was because of beef. It wasn't because of cliques or anything like that. And
you were heavy into skateboarding too in high school?
Of course, yeah.
Because I've skated with you even up till now, and you still got skills, and we go to barracks and shit like that. Like, did you have a favorite trick back then?
I was always I grew up with Bones Brigade, so like
me too,
Bonelesses and all Matt Hensley and all the 8th Street stuff was huge for me. So no complies, heel flips,
you
kick
crushed
flips.
no complies,
And we really didn't have. We had ramps that we built, not very well, but there was a couple skate parks that were far away. So mostly like on a daily skating. We were all we really had to skate were churches, street. We skated street, so it was all. Mostly like Bones and 8th Street influence tricks. No comply. I'll say no comply.
No, you kill those, and kick flips too. Kick flips. You taught Max.
I had to relearn kick flips and heel flips to teach Max how to do them. Yeah, and I couldn't believe I could still do them.
Yeah, you crushed those, and he learned them from you, like just like how to set the whole feet up and all that shit.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to Trio now. First album, Goddammit. When that came out, it was 98. I think it was your first album.
90. Okay, sure. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it's whatever with my things. But so when that record first came out, you guys already built a fan base and locally and maybe like around the area. Like when it first came out, was there like Was there anticipation for this first trio record? You guys still growing as a band? You just excited to put music out? Like,
yeah, I mean, it was like anything, you start, or like anyone's band, your first fans are your friends.
Yeah, totally.
But Chicago, I'm lucky that I came from a place where if there was a show, people went.
Yeah.
So even, and we were friends with the promoters. So we got, Trio, we got put on really cool shows that a lot of people got to see us that normally wouldn't. And so every time we'd play Fireside Bowl, like, we go open for somebody at Metro, and then, the next time, it didn't take us very long, in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it was maybe 6 months or a year, like where we were selling out Fireside from when we started. So it happened pretty quick.
Shout out to Fireside. That was a great venue, man. The bowling alley was fucking some amazing shows there. The sound was kind of shitty, but it was just a great place to play.
Well, it depends on
DIY, yeah.
It depends on who is mixing and
True.
And there were definitely different factors, but the corner of a bowling alley isn't the best acoustics. Where it was set up, and it's like this big box. But some of the I saw No Effects there, and it sounded amazing.
Okay.
So yeah, sometimes it sounded shitty, but generally, if the band was good and there was a lot of people, the more people that were in there, the better it sounded.
Yeah.
Because you'd have people out on the lanes and stuff, and it would, deaden the noise that was bouncing around, where people couldn't stand. Yeah,
that was something. So we had some great shows when you first came through there. So after the record comes out, is there a point where you feel like Alkaline Trio is gonna be something? Was there ever a point where you thought, or was there a point even younger, like I'm gonna do music? You saw Social D, you saw Another State of Mind, you were inspired by that show and be a musician. But was there a moment in Trio where you're like, holy shit, this is gonna be my career? Or you never thought about it like that?
Oh, I thought about it like that. It was the last the last day I rode home from my messenger job. I remember I had a falling out with the guys that owned the messenger company I was working for at the time, or we had a fight or whatever, and they were threatening to fire me. And Trio we'd already done our first tour, and I think we were going out with maybe Face to Face or something. And I just knew that I just remember the last day I rode home. I would be riding in. This was something that always went through my head. Riding from, I lived on the west side.
Yeah.
And and all my work was downtown. So it was like a 20-minute, half-hour ride into work every day. And when it was cold or like, muggy and hot, whatever, it just sucked.
Yeah.
I would think about the day that I'm going to just cherish the day that I know it's my last day working. And that was the time that I realized that this is what I'm going to do.
And was that the last job you had?
Yep.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
So what that would be like? That's like 98 then. Yeah, around 98.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's fucking pretty amazing, man.
Yeah.
You set your mind to it and then focused on the band, and then obviously after that, it's so many records, man. In 2000, 2001. How many records do you have right now? 9 records out now.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. What do you think the key is to your longevity? Is there a key to your longevity career, you think?
I think the longevity of a career, I don't know. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, the things that we decided early on, like our logo, like our font, the way that our band name is written, never change that. Always keep it the same.
You came up with that?
Yeah, I mean, I was the first person to do that. I saw like Jawbreaker.
Yeah.
You've never seen it in anything but that font, and it becomes this other thing. You brand it, and
totally.
And I think branding something that I remember hearing the Misfits for the first time, Walk Among Us, and when 20 Eyes started, I felt like that music was made for just me. And for whatever reason, and it's a great reason, it's people felt like very, obviously from our humble beginnings, there were very few people there, and we would talk to everyone. But even to this day, people feel like they're a part of something, that there's, that it's something that's just theirs.
Yeah.
Trio never got
special,
huge, but we got way bigger than we ever thought we would have, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, and when we started the band, punk rock bands weren't getting huge. I mean, Green Day had maybe broke, you know, a couple years before that, but it seemed like kind of an anomaly. It wasn't until we started Trio that Rancid had gotten, you know, a platinum record, and other punk rock bands started getting really big. But you know, Nirvana and Green Day, that was you know, an anomaly. It was something that wasn't going to happen again. And we didn't, you know, ever compare ourselves to something like that. We just, our goal always was just to be able to live off of playing music.
Yeah.
You know, not be wealthy, you know, but just be able to make a living playing music.
Yeah, you guys started touring nonstop after that, probably right after Goddammit came out.
Yeah.
And then Maybe I'll Catch Fire, and then From Here to the Infirmary, Good Morning, Crimson, Agony, Irony, This Addiction, My Shame is True, and then Is This Thing Cursed? That's 2018, right? It's the last one that came out, 2018.
Yeah.
That's a lot of records, man. A lot of time. It's pretty much.
But that's the other thing too, is a lot of records, but we've been a band for 20 something years.
Yeah.
I think putting out too many records as far as longevity is concerned, that's something. Don't put out too much material. Nowadays, I think it's different.
That's 9 records. That's true. That's a good point.
9 records. It's like a record every couple of years.
Yeah, it's smart. We have like 7 out. That's a good point, actually.
But you want to. It's better to you know. It's like we never played. We always wanted to play like, you know, at least a half an hour, but no longer. It's like you always want to leave them wanting more.
Yeah.
Same thing with a record, but I think you know, there's a lot of things that we did for Alkaline Trio that has somehow secured our longevity.
Yeah.
But I think it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, I think for us there was just a perfect storm kind of brewing and still, you know, quietly raging.
Are there any of those albums you're the most proud of? Like, would you have a favorite Trio record?
I mean, I think like a lot of people, your latest record, it reflects like, you know, where the band's at now. So right now Is This Thing Cursed, that, you know, but I'm proud of, I mean, I was listening to some stuff, recently. Dan and I are, building a set list for, this Bad Religion tour. We're going to go on in the spring of 2020. It's 2020. Can you believe that?
That's crazy. In a couple weeks, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a sick tour. You and Bad Religion, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. And the War on Women, is opening.
That's a new band. I never heard of them actually.
Yeah, they're I hadn't heard of them either. And like Bad Religion are fans, and I think maybe friends with them. Yeah. And I checked out some of their stuff, and it's really cool. Super feminist. Yeah. Female fronted, and I think there's a couple women in the band. That's awesome. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. I mean, with Trio, we always try and bring out bands with women in them, and try and cut down on the boy club factor. Yeah, I like that. Was there ever a time in your career before we're at now that you wanted to quit music? You were kind of over it? No, never. Okay, that's pretty amazing, man. I mean, what? You know, it's the best. It's not even you know, I have difficulty calling it a job. It's like I don't go to work. I work on things, but I play music. I don't work music. You know, it's that's true. I go work on something, but I've never really said I'm going to work. Yeah, that's true. You know, I'm going to the studio. I'm going on tour. It can be hard work or seem like hard work, at least sometimes, but not because you're breaking rocks. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. It's just, but there isn't a better quote unquote job in the world. No. I mean, I've done a very minuscule amount of acting, and that's something that doesn't seem like any fun. Yeah. You know, and even the glory of it and all the upswing to acting. It's like, you know, I have friends that are actors. You have friends that are actors. Yeah. Mike Rapp. It's like, you know, he obviously knows way more about it than I, but you know, it's not something that I think I would enjoy very much. And music is, you know, every actor wants to be a musician. Every musician wants to be an actor, except for me. But I tried it, you know, like if you're in a somewhat popular band, you kind of as you know, you have your foot in the door in places that maybe you shouldn't have your foot in the door. You know, it's like Brandon Flowers from The Killers said, you know, people should stick to their side of the fence. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
You know, so it's for me, it's like, if you're not great at it, you know, I think acting is an incredible, like watching great acting is like watching, you know, some athlete or incredible musician or whatever. Yeah. It's just like an art form that blows my mind because to me, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And, takes so much talent and research and, just all of it. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So much work. And you know, the play that I worked on, Fat Mike's musical, a live production is so much work. I mean, that felt like a job. Yeah. It was grueling.
Yeah.
And, you know, I loved the experience, but I didn't enjoy being on the stage.
Yeah.
And acting.
Do you enjoy, because you're amazing art. I think you're like one of my only friends, I feel like, can play many instruments, you can write amazing songs, and you're an awesome artist too, a painter. Did you find, what's the enjoyment compared to writing songs and making music or like making a painting? Is it the same kind of high, the same kind of?
It's so similar.
Yeah.
There's so many parallels to songwriting and painting.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
Almost in every way. But yeah, the gratification, the way the idea starts, the way the idea is hopefully the end result. You know, if you've succeeded, it's 10 times better than the initial idea. Surprising yourself.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when you're, I think the main difference is being in, you know, either band that I'm in, it's you're collaborating. So oftentimes you bring the best out of each other, hopefully. And you have outside influences that make it something completely different and hopefully take it to new heights.
Yeah.
With painting, you're doing that yourself. So it's a very similar kind of high, like you get from it, and sense of accomplishment, or, you know, it's like you write a song and record it, and you love the way the recording came out. You're proud of the song and you listen to it yourself. It's like a painting. If you're proud of it, you'll you know, keep looking at it. It's like, if I don't like something and I'm obsessing over it, I'll keep listening to it. Or if I love it, you know, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could go on all night, but it's very similar.
Yeah, I definitely want to thank you and think that you opened up Max's eyes to painting, because when you used to watch Max when he was young, you guys would always be making these paintings, and I think that really opened his eyes to it. And he has a lot of great paintings that you made for him and that he made for you. And I love that. That was. Yeah,
it was. I mean, just that. I don't know when this is going to air, but we're like what, 5 days away from Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys just gave me this book of pictures of me and Max over the years, and
super emo.
Oh man, I got so I'm still like choked up thinking about it. But Matt, I'm really honored and proud to be a part of Max's life.
Yeah.
And the influence that I've had on him, I'm you know, he's very much his own person, his own young man. But I love that he enjoys painting and music, and you know, we shared a lot of that together. Every time I watched him, we were making a mess.
Yeah. I remember coming one time home and they answered the door, and Max looked so nervous, and Max was like paint all over him. And then I saw you had paint on yourself, and there was like paint all over the sink. You guys just went crazy. It's a moment I'll never forget. Actually, you came home, you guys were all
was it
paint.
When I painted Max blue?
Maybe. Yeah.
I painted like war. Max asked me to. He asked me to paint him. He's like, "Will you paint me like a picture?" I think he meant like a portrait.
Yeah.
And so I painted him. Literally painted Max. Painted him like green head to toe, and he had like yellow and blue like war paint on, like Native American war paint.
Yeah.
Oh man, that picture's amazing. Oh, his palms were blue.
That's right.
And then he had war paint on his face. Yeah.
And he thought he was gonna get in trouble, but he wasn't. But he came to I remember I was never forget his face, and then you guys were like fucking covered in paint. Another thing, another part of our life is I'll never forget. This is moving now to where we are now, but one of the hardest secrets I ever had to keep was when you had your first meeting with the guys in Blink. Everybody knows that story now. I remember getting a text from you about it, about what was possibly going to happen, and that was really, I was so excited for you, and that was such a hard thing to keep as a secret before the world heard about it.
Yeah.
But I never got there. I mean, obviously I tell you all the time, but it's amazing to see you go from Alkaline Trio, something you started from scratch, to still having that band and a career with that, and also singing for Blink-182 and filling those shoes and doing an amazing job at it. And I got to be at the first show you guys played at Muse Inc. And just being your friend and watching you through all your stuff you do in music and art, and then now you're singing in Blink. So I know that transition was extremely, I don't know if it's not difficult, but that's like a big thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's daunting.
Yeah. And so to see you doing that now, and now here we are, and it's a couple years later since you've been in that band.
5
years went by. Holy shit.
Can you believe that?
5 years went by. And so now, and then seeing you now where you're at and singing and the voice and everything, it's just, I mean, I'm sure people ask you this question all the time, but that transition, was that a scary, I know when you wanted to do it, you're not going to say you didn't want to do it if you didn't want to do it. You said yes. But then actually doing it, was that a scary process for you?
I wouldn't use the word
stressful.
Scary. I wasn't scared of it. Yes, it was stressful. It was, when they asked me to join the band, I said that I'd love to do it. I was just nervous that, some of those guitar parts are relatively simple, but really fast and pretty technical. It was just a way of playing that I'd never played before.
Yeah.
And I said, and Mark said, just make it yours with keeping it true to the original.
Yeah.
So, kids all the time will, never, of course, to your face, but people talking shit, it's like you playing this wrong and doing this wrong, and you're singing these words instead of these words. It's like, I didn't write the song. I'm not going to try and, bastardize it too much, but,
yeah.
Is that the right word? Or, whatever.
That's a good word.
I'm not gonna, I don't know if it's the right word though. I think, I wanted to keep it, pay, homage to the original, and keeping that, all the flavors that make it what it was, and while adding, it's like, I can't change who I am. I'm not going to try, to sing like Tom. I'm not going to, I'm going to do my best to play those songs as they were recorded. But I mean, I started watching live Blink shows, and a lot of times the guitar parts are completely different than they are on the album. So
okay.
It was stressful though. Learning all those songs. I learned, I think, 30 songs in like a month.
Fuck.
And it wasn't like, it's Blink. It's one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to do a good job. So yeah, it was stressful. But also, I'm honored that I'm sitting here telling that story. Like, I still pinch myself that's, I still pinch myself about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Alkaline Trio. I can't believe that it's lasted as long as it has, and that it's gone as far as it has, that we've played in Africa.
So, I don't know. I remember
we
that.
played in Japan. We played like, it's like, that's huge.
Yeah.
So at least for me, and I'm very thankful.
Yeah. And Trio played with Blink before, right? You guys toured with them before? So you actually, I don't know if you were a fan, but you knew the music, you knew the songs anyway. But
I was a fan when Enema of the State came out. Jerry Finn played it for me right before it came out.
Yeah.
And I really dig that. I mean, I became a fan because of Enema. Before that, I thought they were cool.
Yeah.
We were on some video comp together.
Sure.
And I thought they were cool. But it didn't really speak to me until they worked with Jerry and got Travis in the band.
Yeah. Was it because singing some of those massive songs that you've heard a million times, and then all of a sudden now it's you singing those songs, it's got to be tripped out for sure. Probably the first couple times, maybe. You know what I mean?
It's still trippy.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's just like singing like all the small things that it's a trip. I mean, I love it, and I'm honored. It's like, but yeah, it's not something that it's never routine. or like nothing. It's always like, what, this is a trip.
It is. And you fit so perfectly. Like, I feel like they picked the right person. I don't know how they knew it. I'm sure they knew it. That's why they asked you. But like, it just works. You know what I mean? It's cool to see you up there and playing those songs, and it just sounds right. You know what I mean? It sounds like, I don't know. I guess it's really hard to put. It's hard to put into words.
No,
you know
that sounds right. Is what I like to hear.
Yeah. So, but it's also next level. Obviously, Trio's a big band, but this is some other level shit where it's just like bigger venues, just all that, just everything must just change. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean,
the lifestyle, I guess.
It's not that. I mean, it's really not that different. It's different in so many ways, but at the same time, there's definitely familiarities.
Yeah.
And there's things that are it's definitely more posh.
Yeah.
It's definitely and it's a way bigger audience.
Yeah.
Which, it's I always try and boil it down to just the basic elements of I'm playing in a band, playing music, and want to do my best work.
Yeah.
Beyond that, like what people think of me or think of, it's like the band is, doing. When California came out, it's like that was the best the band had done in a long time.
It's crazy, man. Charting and stuff. Yeah, Billboard. Yeah.
And a Grammy nomination and just all these things that the band hadn't experienced before, and it was cool to experience with them.
Yeah, you're part of that. Yeah.
So yeah, being a part of that is it's awesome. That's really, really cool. But I think that it needs to be approached. Learning the songs, of course, it wasn't until like a year ago where I wasn't completely like nervous before a show. Like I've gotten to the point where I know the words for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I still screw up Alkaline Trio words or songs.
Me too. Yeah, for sure.
We're going to make mistakes, but I feel like I can just enjoy myself up there rather than worrying about like, what's that in the bridge and what's this and that. It's like, just
be comfortable now.
Yeah. Cause everybody screws up. It's like, just don't blow it.
Yeah.
That's
a good point. And that's a good transition to my next thing, Fyre Festival. I knew nothing about that, and then so I remember talking to you about it. Then like you guys were going to get there or go to the airport, and you found out. Who knows? I don't know how you guys found out the minute of that. Whatever. I don't know if we can even talk about it, but all those documentaries came out about it. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That seems like such a surreal event, which I guess it pretty much was because it never happened. But you know what I mean?
Mark got a like I forget, it was a photo or a video. No, it was a video somebody that was there had taken and sent to managers.
Yeah.
Like,
this is what's really happening here.
Yeah, this is what it really looks like.
Yeah.
And it would look like FEMA tents.
Yeah.
It looked like what you saw on the thing.
Yeah.
But we saw, it wasn't even so much about what we saw. It's what we didn't see. We didn't see a stage. We didn't see anything. Like, it looked like, the story.
Yeah,
and it was right after we decided to pull out. I mean, the promoter, when they don't know what like the terminology for all the production and sound and this and that, when they don't know what you're talking about, or they don't have somebody there that does, and they're offering you,
crazy money.
It's like, you got to make sure that this is for real. There was just, it didn't take.
I think you guys are the first band to pull out, weren't you guys? Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is we didn't end up down there. Thank God.
I feel like the documentaries made the
Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for not taking us down there. It was God.
I think that those documentaries made it way bigger than it was actually ever going to be. Those docs the 2 different docs are incredible.
Oh, I think it was big because the docs are only interesting because it was such a big event, because so many people got ripped off.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the event itself wasn't big, it wouldn't, they wouldn't have made movies about it.
They were trying to say you put witchcraft on it to prevent it or something.
Well, I mean, I definitely, it's sort of like one of those things that, like when I tell people, some people pray for people. It's like I send positive energy, or at least attempt to send positive energy to people when they're dealing with a tragedy or, loss or pain of any kind. And, I sent that same kind of energy to that festival that we weren't, something keep us from doing that. And just, I think that, it's like don't wish too hard. It'll, you might get what you want or whatever destroying it. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you wish too hard, you'll get it. It's like, if you wish really hard, you'll get it. I wished really hard that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it was, calling it witchcraft is just, I call it witchcraft.
Yeah.
I call things magic that other people call God, or that, whatever. It's semantics, but I like using terminology that isn't necessarily false. It's just, gets people's attention, gets the right people's attention anyway. People were like freaked out by it, and it's like, I'm witchy. What do you want?
Yeah. Did you grow up in a religious house?
No.
That's awesome.
Nope.
And neither did Max. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
I mean, my grandmother was Catholic. My dad was raised Catholic, but I was baptized. We got confirmed. Me and my sisters there was confirmation classes, like Sunday school confirmation classes.
We did that.
We went everyone that was confirmed does. But they asked my parents to not bring us to the class anymore after the first day because we were asking too many questions, because we weren't raised to believe that like Jesus is magic and whatever. So we weren't purposely being argumentative. We were just wondering, well, if you're stating this as a fact, then what about this? And it jammed up the teachers too much. They couldn't answer the questions, and they said, "We'll confirm you. Just don't. Your kids ask too many questions."
Wow.
That we can't answer.
I love that you guys are asking questions. That's amazing, man. Yeah. It says a lot about you guys.
Well, I think it says a lot about my parents, like the way we were raised. It's like, you question things.
Yeah.
It's like, that religion, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because, I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just, it's not true.
I've had people come on here talking about their faith, so it's okay if you talk about
I mean, faith is... and I said this recently, it's like, I have no problem with people's faith. I don't share that faith.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I don't think one person knows more than anyone else. It's all a mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, people will say that the thing, some people's faith goes so far as to, have them thinking and saying that they have the one true God. It's like, everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
So how can that be true? And they're all saying the same thing. I mean, there's a holy trinity in every organized religion on the planet. It's, no matter what religion you are, you have the same calendar. You drink the same, you need water, you need food. It's like, it's all pretty much elementally the same.
Yeah.
But I just, when I was younger, I, wasn't as polite about my stance on religion.
Yeah.
But I think there's a big difference between faith and religion.
But I think punk rock taught us to be like, question everything. You know what I mean? Like, question everything.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything.
And I don't think that, for me, I've heard the term like Christian punk band. That's just an oxymoron in my opinion. Too. Because they exist.
Yeah.
But it's like, religion is not punk rock.
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you, but it's not. Neither is metal. Those Christian metal bands or whatever. It's obviously punk rock. At least to me, is more of a movement than metal was. It was the political. It was there were, religion ain't punk.
Do you have? This is my last couple of questions for you, and I really appreciate your time. We covered a lot of things here. Do you have any regrets?
No.
Love that. You're like the third person that said that. Some people say yes, but that's great. You don't. It's awesome.
There's things that I'm not proud of, but it's just like anything. If you do something that makes you feel bad, don't do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you consider yourself an optimist or pessimist?
I consider myself a realist.
That's what my wife does too. Shout out to Moon. Same thing. I'm a realist. Yeah. A realist. Okay. I can see that about you for sure.
Yeah. It's like, is the glass half full or half empty? It doesn't matter. There's a glass with half of it has milk in it. That's all I know. What gives a fuck? Either way, like, I don't think it has any bearing on reality. But I think having hope and having optimism is a good thing. I don't If I had to pick one, I would say, I guess it's split down the middle. It depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I've known you a long time. I get more positive vibes from you than, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess I don't have a whole lot of faith in people in general.
Yeah.
For good reason, because so many of them are
shady scumbags.
Just full of shit.
Yeah.
They aren't who they portray. And
especially in this industry too, probably, yeah. Or every industry, yeah.
Just in general, I think people are bullshit.
Yeah.
But you know, it just makes the people like you that I'm close with, it's like my friends that I consider good friends are my family.
Yeah.
And I only, you know, I could count them on one hand.
Me too,
you
man.
know?
Yeah.
But I have a lot of, you know, beautiful, people I'm friendly with or that I'll hang out with. And, you know, then there's the people that you go to when you need someone to talk to, or, you know, somebody that you know, whatever, some simple task that you need an extra pair of hands and that person's going to be there. You know, I think being a man is, you know, all a man has is his word. So, and just people don't keep their word.
Yeah, it sucks.
People are full of shit.
It sucks.
For the most part, I think. And so as far as the human race, I'm a bit of a pessimist, but I also, that gets challenged whenever I see beauty in, you know, young people. You know, I saw a thing just a couple days ago, these young kids that are, you know, 8th grade, 7th grade kids talking about climate change, kids from Uganda.
Wow.
You know,
I saw that. Yeah.
It's incredible. So things like that give me faith. And I'm, you know, I guess it depends on what day of the week it is. You'd have to ask me tomorrow. Yeah. Today I'm a realist.
Okay.
with a dash of pessimism.
What is a daily ritual for Matt Skiba?
Daily ritual. I guess coffee is the first thing on my mind when I wake up. And I always try and I write every day at some point. I meditate 2 times a day every day at some point. Depends on my schedule. I don't really have when I'm home, the routine's a little different than the road, but the constants are coffee, writing, exercise. When I'm home, I hit the gym 4 times a week. Going to Runyon with you when my knee's not ready to give out. So yeah, it's pretty, I mean,
good ones.
I would say it doesn't sound like anything crazy or spectacular, but for me it is. I mean, even I get joy from the simplest things.
Yeah, your meditation's heavy. One time, me and Max went over to Skiba's to meet up with him, and we saw him through the window. He was meditating, but looked like he was like dead or sleeping. His head leaned back. It was scary, but you were in total meditation form. We'd never seen you like that. It was awesome. You're like, you were totally in it.
You said it was scary?
Yeah, because your head was back. We didn't know if you knock on the window or not. Max, like, is he okay? He was like, had his eyes closed on the couch meditating. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I don't necessarily, when I first started doing it, I talked about it a lot more because it had such a sudden impact on me, or immediate impact. Yeah. With some people, it takes a little longer or whatever. I just was so excited about it and wanted everybody to experience what I was experiencing from it. But, you know, it's like the more you preach about something or talk about something, the less people are going to want to do it. So
you got Moon to do it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Changed your life, actually.
I mean,
man.
It's my trainer. We meditate together before we work out. A lot of my, you know, it's not for everyone. Yeah. But you know, for anyone interested, I'm any one of my friends that are interested, I'm honored that I got them meditating because, you know, it changed my life for the better completely and makes those simple rituals. So, you know, it makes something as simple as folding t-shirts enjoyable.
What is yours called again? Can you do?
Transcendental Meditation. That's it. Yeah,
TM. That's it. You do it on tour too, huh?
Everywhere. Twice a day, yeah.
And you could do it anywhere? Does it have to be a certain quiet spot or just whatever?
Earplugs.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I can meditate and, you know, it's the only thing that ever distracts me is like construction work where it's like a constant like a pounding or banging. But people like an airport has like a steady kind of subtle like
does.
rumble to it,
It
that
does.
you can kind of forget about. It's almost
Yeah.
like a white noise, but you can do it anywhere. I just always have either, headphones that are buds or earplugs.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as you're sitting and, I meditate with, driving sometimes. I'll, say my mantra in my head. It's a silent meditation, but, I kind of meditate throughout the day now.
Yeah. Moon does too.
I have to sit down and to actually do it, to sit down and close my eyes and take my shoes off. And it's amazing.
It's awesome. And then what would be like would you have like a top 5 inspirations or artists or somebody who inspired you? It could be an author, anything. I'm sure yours is diverse because you have a diverse palette of inspiration.
Yeah, but the David Lynch.
I knew that. He's right on the piece of paper behind. Okay,
David Lynch,
yeah.
and he wrote a book called Catching the Big Fish, about how I forget what the subtitle.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called, the secondary title. It's like Catching the Big Fish, Transcendental Meditation and Creativity, and how TM affects creativity. And that book, I read it on a 3-hour flight, front to back.
Damn.
And apart from being a fan of his films, he got me meditating. David Lynch, Crispin Glover. There's so many people that I that have had such a huge influence on me. Andy Warhol.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the Velvet Underground, that whole factory scene is amazing. I mean, what did you say, 5?
It's all right. Nick Cave, one of yours?
Nick Cave is huge. Nick Cave is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman.
Ooh.
Martin Scorsese. A lot of, musicians, filmmakers. There's but Nick Cave, David Lynch, Crispin Glover, some women. Let's see. I learned how to write a song. Ani DeFranco was a huge influence.
Eurythmics?
No, that's Annie Lennox.
My bad, sorry.
But she's great. It's all right. Ani DeFranco is a musician and activist who I've been a fan of since she was playing little clubs. But her early stuff her really stripped down stuff is amazing songwriting. She's been a huge influence on me over the years.
I know the name now. No.
There's Patti Smith. There's so many people.
Yeah.
I'm going to be driving home and remember like, oh, I should have said this.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I get psyched about the things that influence me, and a lot of people that aren't with us anymore.
Yeah.
Ian Curtis, Joy Division.
Yeah.
That list is huge. I mean, Andy, I guess. So yeah.
Is that what still inspires you to make music and the love of doing it? Is these artists, or is it just how you live your life, like every day, and inspirations? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it something in particular that keeps you inspired to make new music and keep creating and making art and making music? What is that, you think? Just it's something inside you.
It changes depending on what you're doing, but I think more than anything, the fans, the people that appreciate what I do, is such a huge compliment and such a huge source of inspiration and drive that people other than me are enjoying this. Yeah. It makes me want to do the best that I can.
Yeah.
Which I've always wanted to do, but it definitely gives me more drive. I think within me, it's like I'm blessed to have this career that I have, and I'm the only one that's going to get me out of bed in the morning. I'm the only one that's going to pick up the guitar or the pen or the paintbrush or whatever it is. Even that's a huge inspiration that I'm my own boss.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
you inspired a lot of people, man, with your music, and still continue to inspire people and inspire me. And
thanks.
Since we married, we can really get friends, and I appreciate it. I remember every day on the Warped Tour, no matter who was at the stage for Hazen Street, Skiba was there every fucking day. And that's when we really started hanging with Skiba on that Warped Tour. And nobody in Hazen Street will ever forget that. Out of all the bands on the tour, and Skiba was on the fucking main stage. He made his way to the stage every day, no matter what time, and chill with Hazen Street. And that was awesome, man. That was a wonderful thing, man.
That was a fun tour. That's awesome.
Yeah, I forgot what year that was either. But
I don't. What year is it? 2019.
Yeah.
I keep writing 18 on, like I was gonna say checks, but like who writes checks anymore?
Well, thank you, Skiba, for your time. We've been talking about doing this
you.
from day one, and this is one of my closest friends, and I appreciate everything you've done for my family. And my son loves you, looks up to you, one of his favorite uncles. Sorry to the other uncles listening right now. Just facts. And you've been a big part of our family, and
I'm honored to be a part of it, and you guys have likewise have enriched my life. That kid Max, who's not, I can't believe how tall that guy is.
I know. I don't know if everybody's as tall as you, but
and
tall.
Surfing, that's another thing.
Yeah, dude.
I took him surfing for the first time. So yeah, you guys made me that book of all those pictures of him since he was an infant.
Yeah, man. You got him his first drum set too.
Got him
the
his
little
first
trio
drum
set.
Gave him his first surfboard.
You've been the start of like a lot of like his kick flips, his surfing, his painting, his drum. That's a huge, especially looking at the book today, all those pictures of like how small he was to now. Like there was like over 20 pictures of Skiba with Max, all different times of his life. It's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, I'm honored. And people, I've known him. I mean, I wouldn't say his whole life because he's still going and will be for a long time. But thus far, I'm honored to have been there for the most part. If I'm home, and to have, but he inspires me. It's like what inspires me. It's like Max is a big inspiration.
Yeah.
And to see the fire in his belly that's now raging for all these things.
Yeah.
Keeps mine burning too.
I love when sometimes you post pictures, people think it's like, oh, your kid's so cute. They think it's your kid. All right, well, Skiba, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And you can find Matt Skiba, just Google his ass. You find him anywhere if you want to see what he's up to. And the punk rock and paintbrushes, something's happening now.
There's a show tonight.
Yeah.
I have a show at Lethal Amounts, downtown LA. That's not punk rock and paintbrushes, but we don't have a set date yet, but that'll be early in 2020.
Awesome. And then the Bad Religion tour with Alkaline Trio. That's
Spring,
fucking amazing, man.
It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, man. Well, happy holiday. Well, I don't know when it's going to drop. I can't say anything about holidays. You have to keep this.
Happy holidays. It's all
right. Yeah. Hopefully this will drop soon. And thanks for being here, Skeebs.
Thanks, Toby.
That was fucking awesome. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.